Welcome back to another episode of Drifting Cowboy Podcast. I'm here today with Mr. Dale Watson. Dale, how are you today?
Pretty good. Beautiful day in Texas.
It is. Thank you for inviting me out to your house. You got a beautiful place out
Thank
here.
you. Thank you. We love it. Yeah. Well, it's been the best move I've made in a long time. I mean, it's just love it out here. Marshall, Texas is where we're at. Home of the birthplace of the Boogie Woogie.
Is this a historical house? I thought I saw a
Yeah, it
plaque.
really is. It was built in 1894, and yes, on the Texas. It's a Texas landmark, so registry. So yeah, I've been here a long, long time. And this is actually a lot of people don't. I didn't know that till I moved here. That Marshall was the capital of Missouri during the Confederate.
Really?
Yeah, during the war, they had to move their capital here.
I,
so
di- I didn't know that
yeah,
either. I also didn't realize that Lead Belly spent a lot of time here.
yeah. We got we just me and Celine and our friend Alan Loudermilk, local businessman here. We've been championing a Lead Belly museum along with the Boogie Woogie Museum, which
Uh-huh.
actually Boogie Woogie just opened up. We just had our first festival here in Marshall last September, and we're going to have another one the end of next September. Now this year, and that museum is going to. It's already got the Boogie Woogie in there and some Lead Belly stuff, but we're going to actually have a lot more Lead Belly and a lot more Boogie Woogie.
Yeah, when y'all have that festival again, I'm definitely gonna come back up here
Yeah,
and
please
check
do.
it out.
It's a really fun time. A lot of boogie woogie music. Can't help but tap your toe.
Uh, well, I was telling Celine when we were inside, you have a lot of irons in the fire.
I do. I got a lot of. I'm almost out of iron.
Yeah, that's that's just one of the irons. I mean, she told me you tour about 300 days out of the year.
About yep.
That's a lot of time on the road, and then you do the Ameripolitan Awards. You have
Ameripolitan Awards is. I mean, thankfully, Celine is taking that bull by the horns every day, and it is an everyday thing, all year long thing. And Ameripolitan Awards is so very important to us. So this is our 10th one this year, and our 10th year of being in Ameripolitan, and so it's very important, and it's a big one because it's at the Austin City Limits Moody Theater, and in Austin, Texas, where we started. We started this whole thing in Austin, Texas, and so her and Mitch Cohen, my management. He's a producer of it. We've big strides in the Ameripolitan this year and the past couple of years. So
yeah. I couldn't think of a better place to have a awards show for real country music than Austin.
yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's what it is. We're for so long I was known as the rebel and the guy, the anti Nashville guy. But what I've tried to I've hopefully naturally evolved in is just uh, I realize they're doing what they do, and there's an audience for what they do in the mainstream of Nashville, the more pop produced, more hip hop oriented country music and all that stuff. I realize there's an audience for that, and so uh, I've tried to adapt the nature of live and let live. Okay, they got that, says, but that don't mean that I can't uh, champion and defend the roots country music. The kind of country music that I like because we got new artists and new songs and new material that's just got the the roots in it that make it connect it with the older country, which seamlessly, like it would have naturally grown had it not been polluted, as I say.
Right. Yeah, I've been saying that for years. Like, pop country should have its own station, and there should be a
Absolutely.
station for in every town for traditional country music. And I'm glad that y'all have
But the
come up
problem
with.
is, when I was trying to come up with a name, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. I'm sorry. Uh, when you said traditional country, we thought about that.
Mhm.
But whenever you say, when you put the word country in it, and I ran across this whenever I was trying to think of a name for what I do, because, inevitably, if I'm in some town in Michigan or New Jersey or whatever, I'm getting a haircut.
Mhm.
Somebody say, "Hey, well, what are you in town doing?" Well, I got a show. What kind of music do you do? If I say any form of that says country in it, then and usually, of course, it's a younger person cutting my hair probably, but they have to interpret what I'm telling them. If I use the word country in it at all, traditional country or roots country, they automatically have to draw on what their definition of country is. And their definition, most of the time, is going to be something like Jason Aldean or Kenny Chesney or whatever is the new flavor of the month, Taylor Swift. So they're thinking, oh, and if you say traditional country, then they think, oh, I don't like that old whiny stuff. That's exactly what I've heard people say. And I said, one, they don't get it if they calling that stuff old whiny. But two, a lot of people think traditional country when you say that to people under or 30 and under, they're thinking traditional countries like Alan Jackson,
Right.
which is true. I mean, I love Alan Jackson. I love Alan Jackson. I love George Strait. I love but that's what they think old country is, and traditional country. And with Ameripolitan, our roots go back to Jimmy Rogers. You hear some of the artists. I'll say one of my flagship people that were Ameripolitan is James Hand. James Hand is a very much a original, extremely influenced by Hank Williams and Lefty Frizzell, and Ernest Tubb. You can hear it in his music, but he's not a copy. Same with Wayne Hancock. A lot of people say, "Oh, he's doing Hank Williams." He's not. He's got a great original music, and he sounds like himself. He's just reminiscent of Hank Williams, but he's not trying to sing like him, act like him, or be like him.
Right. You say getting haircuts in another town. I thought of Ray Stevens.
Ray Stevens, when you're going to get a haircut, be sure to go back home.
I'm a logger.
I'm a logger. Well, you're showing, that's a lot of people don't remember that song, but it's true. So that's why I came up with the odd word. Me and actually a couple of friends at the Oneida Casino when I was playing there in Wisconsin, I was having this conversation, and we kind of came up with Ameripolitan, and because once you hear that name, it doesn't have a precognate thing that you think. If I say, "Oh, we play a real country," so people are going to think, "Okay, well, it's country music, but it's
that could mean so many different things to different people."
Because quite frankly, today people think real country music is Taylor Swift.
Right.
And it's not. So I came up with this word, and when I say the word, well, what kind of music you do? I do Ameripolitan.
Yeah.
And they get a blank look on their face, like, what you like? Because now you got a blank slate, and you could feed in the adjectives. It's honky-tonk, western swing, rockabilly, outlaw. It covers all that, it's roots. And then now they got something else to form with that, as opposed to starting you off at Jason Aldean or Kenny Chesney, starting you off there. Now they have to go, okay.
Right. Yeah, listening to your music, it reminds me a lot of like Asleep at the Wheel, Ray Benson. It's got that you.
That's a compliment. Ray is one of my best friends in the world, and I love that you hear that in me because growing up in Texas, it's Western swing is so prevalent in our culture, and nobody's done more about keeping Western swing alive than Ray Benson, Sleep at the Wheel.
Right. It's not like Bob Wills Western swing. It's I would call that, I guess, to me is Bob Wills is like pure Western swing. Yours is like a mix of Western swing.
Mine is diluted. Yeah, I don't have any problem admitting that because I don't have all the fiddles, and I don't have the stuff that makes Western swing. So I think I'm probably influenced more of the rockabilly side into swing, in that, and even the true rockabilly artists will tell you, well, no, you're not rockabilly at all. But again, I'm a mix of all honky tonk, Western swing, rockabilly, and outlaw myself, and I love all that stuff individually, and it comes out whenever because you are what you eat.
Right. I think it deserves its own name because, like you said, it's a mixture. It's not one thing or the other. It's a mixture of those together. And music over time, even with like we're talking about pop country, other styles and genres influence.
Well, it's been obvious in pop country. I'm always trying to stay away from the negative thing, but what steered me away from what the new country is doing now is it is leaning more on its hip hop and that influence, and it's driving me further away.
Hmm.
I mean, when I see the award shows now, it's like I don't even recognize it as what I grew up as country music, because there is. Willie Nelson said this in an interview. There's a documentary came out back in the 1900s, and it was called. It was done by the Channel 4 News over in England. Uh, I don't know if that's part of the BBC, but it's a really they've won lots of awards for their documentaries, and they had a naked series. They had one naked baseball and naked. Uh, I think Hollywood, but they did naked Nashville, and uh, and I was featured on one part of that series. And Willie Nelson, they was asking Willie about me, and I think this is probably a really good way to put it when you're talking about time and the roots. It says he he felt like I'm paraphrasing Willie now. You can go back and look at the documentary. It's a great documentary called Naked Nashville. But he said he thinks the music was watered down, and the more you water it down, more you water down your whiskey, it ain't whiskey.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Before we get too far away from the Ameripolitan, you want to go ahead and tell us when that is and where they can get.
February 18th is the awards night, but that's a whole weekend. We got well, when did that thing go? Yeah, it's kind of like this is a beat up old program from last year, but yeah, it's a whole weekender. It starts it's got a soft opening on a Thursday and then Friday, and no, soft opening Friday. Anyway, it's that whole weekend, Friday, Saturday, and culminating in the award show on Sunday. Because we got several venues all over Austin: Continental Club, Broken Spoke, Seaboys, Saxon, and then of course at the hotel, which started it. I started at this hotel 10 years ago with the very first Ameripolitan Award show. So that's where it's our home base, where we're going to have a lot of vendors and steel guitar forum. A show is going to be there. Some shows are going to be there at the hotel as well. So, and we got shuttles to take people around, so they don't have to drive. And so it's a whole weekender, and it culminates at the Moody Theater, where they film Austin City Limits. So it's going to be you can get your tickets online at Ameripolitan.org.
And for the people who aren't familiar with the Austin area, I lived in that outside in Smithville for about a year,
Oh yeah,
and all those places he just named, like the Broken Spoke especially, is one of my favorite places. A lot of history in that place. I mean, George Strait's played, that Willie's played there a bunch of times, and they
oh yeah.
have like a little museum in the back where I've spent a lot of time just looking at all the old memorabilia and stuff that they have. So some really cool
Yeah,
places.
Bob Wills.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I mean Ernest Tubb. It's a very historical place, they finally got their landmark.
yeah. So going to all those places, we're gonna get to see a lot of the people who are gonna be up for awards that the Ameripolitans are gonna be
Right.
playing, and I'm excited. I'm glad y'all invited me out. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Um, that Ameripolitan.
And on the show itself, of course, we got besides the awards that were given away, we're going to have performances by like Junior Brown
Mhm.
Reverend Horton Heat and and some past winners of the awards, like Jesse Daniel, who's fantastic,
Mhm.
who else? Rachel Brooke. We're still finalizing some of the stuff, but But it's going to be. I think Ray Wiley is playing too. So
I think the thing I'm most excited about, I've been a Texas Tornadoes fan for all my life.
yes,
And we're going to have Flaco Jimenez and Augie Myers on stage. And it's
yeah,
the first time they're going to be on that stage since, I think, the 90s, right? On the
that's right.
Austin City Limits stage.
That's right. They and because they, the Tornadoes, they were so instrumental in teaching the world about Tex-Mex music, and that is its own thing. I think they really, if they didn't invent it, they came as close as anybody could have, because with Freddie Fender and Doug Somm and Augie and Flacco, they made such a mark, and they never. I just don't believe, especially individually. Doug's gone and Freddie's gone, but so I thought it was time for Flacco, Jimenez, and Augie Myers to get their own award for founder of a sound, because they in Texas they made such a mark in being able to show the roots that they grew up on.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see them on stage.
And of course, Ray Benson, though. Ray Benson's getting Master Award, the gold. Ray, he deserves it. He's champion Western Swing forever. He's getting the gold award, and what we're trying to do with that, we're hoping that will make the Country Music Hall of Fame go, hey, you know what? We need to recognize Ray Benson.
Yeah, don't even get me started on the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, sorry, sidetracked.
The Hall of Fame, there's a lot that should be in there. I've been trying to champion getting Gary Stewart in there for a while.
I'll sign that petition. I love Gary Stewart. Yeah.
I don't think they look at the petitions is the problem.
Oh, is that right?
I spoke to Gary's daughter very briefly online, and they had put out a petition 10 years ago or something and had a bunch of people sign it, and nothing ever came of it.
Yeah, we actually did it with Jerry Lee Lewis, and we got people like Chris Christopherson and everybody, all the celebrities we could find to sign it, and I don't know if it made a difference, but he got in.
Right.
The squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yeah, and maybe that's what we need to do, is get some bigger names on that. We need to just put everybody who deserves to be in there on one thing and send it in. They should bust those people in, though, because, I mean,
yeah.
Gene Watson is one.
Well, that's the thing, is Mo Bandy, Gene Watson, these guys are still around doing great music, you know. And, I just think they're trying to make it if Jelly Roll gets in there before Gene Watson and Mo Bandy, I'm going to be an upset guy.
The one that gets to me the most, I think, is Johnny Horton. Johnny Horton not being in there, I'm like, come on.
Oh, I just assumed he was.
He's not in there. And
Wow.
I guess maybe going back to he was big on the Louisiana Hayride, wasn't really a part of the Nashville scene.
True.
I think maybe he's still considered an outcast, but
That is right, because if you did the Hayride, they really didn't. The Opry didn't want you on it back then, in them days, So there was a lot of you do this, you can't do this,
yeah. I did read an article, and they say don't believe everything you read on the internet, but it said on there that one of the reasons you created the Ameripolitan Music Awards was because of a quote from Blake Shelton.
That is, and I've always tried to steer away from that. But let's tell the story with the. I was in Europe. I think it was in Germany, doing a show, and this thing popped up on, I guess it was Facebook at the time, and where he had said that they asked, the interviewer asked Blake Shelton about the critique from some of the fans of country music, saying his stuff is, too poppy, too got hip hop, and says doesn't really sound country. And he said, "Well, I don't worry about that. Says we're not going to listen to them jackasses. They're just a bunch of old farts." He said nobody wants to listen to their granddad. Nobody wants to listen to their granddad's music, and that last part was actually what got me.
Yeah.
Is because I love my dad's music and my granddad's music, and the roots is what made me fall in love with music. Period. And so I just really made my blood boil. And Ray Price, matter of fact, commented on his Facebook page, "There's not a hat made big enough to fit that boy's head." Says, "Let's see how his music stands up in 65 years like his has."
Yeah.
That was a quote unquote from Ray Price. So I said, you know what? I'm going to try this. I'm going to give an award to people doing this stuff because it is hard. The awards are given to people who have one. They have a CD out. They're touring. You can't just be local. And I know how important local music is. I'm not slamming anybody that doesn't tour, and you got a regular job and you play on the weekends. I definitely appreciate that. I had that at a time, but it's what really spreads the word is people that tour on their album, and the album has original music in it, and it's got the Roots influence. So if you have them things, then you can be nominated. And so we just did it the first year. I thought might get a couple hundred people out, and we sold out. I mean, of course, we could only hold 500 people in the place, and so we couldn't get enough people. Didn't have enough room for everybody, and it was a big success. And of course, it's been getting bigger every year. And so I thought, like I said, just be one and done, just to prove it. But it's taken off to where no, old farts and jackasses. I wrote a song called "I'd rather be an old fart than a new country turd." In opposition, I wrote it that night when I heard about that.
You have quite a few songs that are very critical of.
Yeah, I do.
mainstream
Yeah,
country music.
and I keep saying I'm going to quit doing that, and actually I have now because once Ameripolitan came along, there's no more reason for me to bash Nashville because I just say, all right, you do what you do, and we're going to do what we do.
Yeah, I'm just so glad that you did too. Somebody needed to step up and do it for people like you and Ray Benson and these guys who.
It has. And I feel like we're kind of like a stepping stone up to Nashville, noticing these guys and maybe making a change of the terrain. Like we gave the award to Margot Price, and then she got up there that year, and I'm not saying we're a reason for it. I'm just saying maybe, but when we recognize these people, when the fans, actually, when I say we, it's all 100% fan voted. We they nominate the people, and we go through the nominations, make sure they meet all the criteria, and then the ones that have the most nominations get on the final ballot, and ones that the fans that it is a bit of a popularity contest, somewhat, but we do have a filter. In other words, if it's getting close to this, and we got a committee says, hey, does this which one is doing more for roots music, and in other words, if somebody I'm using this as an example. I haven't seen this yet, but if somebody is leaning more toward the Americana side of in their music, and somebody else is leaning more toward the honky-tonk, western swing, rockabilly, outlaw side of the music, would go that way. But it's still got to be the votes. It's all about the votes, and so I think the people choose who rises up and needs to be noticed, and just like with Charlie Crockett and Sierra Farrell, these people have gone on to do pretty darn well in the mainstream.
Right.
And that helps us. That helps everybody. The roots music is being more recognized and more accepted. And so, and Ray Benson's been that way forever. He's always helped the mainstream realize that, hey, there's, I just got the alternative country award at the Texas CMAs, and I'm not bashing them at all. I'm very grateful that I got an award of any kind, but that's the way it is in the mainstream these days. I'm looked at as alternative country as opposed to being country.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned Sierra Farrell, Charlie Crockett,
Yeah.
Margot Price. These are all people who got awards on the Ameripolitan Awards show before they really started, and it's like afterwards they blew up. And when Celine sent me this list of people who's been on the show, I'm like, wow, this is some big names that have been on, and it's cool that the awards show recognizes that talent and then they blow up.
That's what's it really does make us feel good and a little bit of validation in the way that give these people a chance, and man, they will. You know, Whitey Morgan's another one, in my opinion. We Cody Jinks. I mean, we've out, like I said, it's the fans. The fans have done this, and and if there was a real honest chart of fan supported music instead of something falsely generated,
right,
these people would be on the top of the top.
right. Yeah, it's a really cool thing that's going on, because even like the CMA Awards is voted on by the Country Music Association, which is, from what I understand, 1,000 anonymous members, I believe. So who knows who they are or why they're voting the way they are. But they even had this year the first annual People's Choice Country Music Awards. And I was in Nashville at the time, and a good friend of mine, Justin Nunley, was up there. He was going to the awards, and I said, if it's truly the People's Choice Award, Zach Bryan will win almost every award.
Is that right?
And he didn't win any awards.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that was really a People's Choice.
Yeah, well, again, we're talking about what people. I
Yeah.
mean, they're only if they're just asking people that listen to mainstream radio, the pop radio stuff, then you're going to get a totally different answer if you would ask the people at the Ameripolitan Awards.
Right, right, exactly. Exactly. Well, I want to talk about one of my favorite songwriters who, from what I understand, was a dear friend of yours, Billy Joe
Billy
Shaver.
Joe, yeah.
Yep.
I knew exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
You wrote a song about Billy Joe. Where do you want it?
I almost got him thrown in prison.
That's what he said.
Yeah, it's true, which makes me feel horrible. But I called him. The day I wrote. I remember it's after all this stuff happened. It was on the news and newspapers, and I was playing my chicken shit bingo show that Sunday, and I heard about it from a friend actually who was there when all that happened at Papa Joe's, and he was telling me about it. And so I just on stage and I just started writing this song. So I thought, well, I'll finish it up. And I called Billy and I said, Billy, I got this song I just wrote. He says, okay, that's good. You like it? I said, yeah, I like it pretty well. I said, but I just want to call you because I don't want to say anything wrong. He says, it's called Where Do You Want It? He goes, oh, that's bad. He says, Dale, I can't comment. I can't make any comment whatsoever on, we're about to go to trial. And I said, well, you know what? I'll just get rid of the song. It says I don't. He goes, no. Songs are like your children. You don't just throw it away. You just if you don't mind, it's a fact that some people got ugly children. I just like for you to keep that one hidden for a little while. So I did. But word got out that song was there, and it came up in the trial. And they said, yeah, you said this because it's, Dale Watson wrote this song. And so from what I understand, I wasn't there, but they had to have experts. I don't know if Willie or Kinky was the ones to do it, but they had to say, yeah, you can write a song and not know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah.
So, which I did. I was just going by, news. But yeah, it did. It really did throw up in the trial, and they said, well, the song is this, so it must be true.
Yeah, there's a video for any of y'all that want to go watch it. It's on YouTube. Billy Joe is he's about to perform his song "Wacko" to
Wacko
Wacko
from
from
Waco.
Waco,
Wacko from
which
Waco.
he said was an answer to Dale's song.
Yeah, exactly.
He said he had to set the record straight because Dale almost had him thrown in jail. He said,
I laugh about it, but I feel horrible about it.
Billy Joe was a character.
Yeah, he was. He was, in my opinion, the best songwriter. It just, I mean, and that's saying a lot coming out of Texas. I mean, there's so many great songwriters here, but that guy was probably the most natural. He really, I mean, you think he's a wordsmith, and just his way around phrases is just unlike anybody else. And yeah, it's just he's one guy that I've talked to him many times. I said, and I'm never been that guy who want to write with somebody, because I'm not I shy away from that just because I don't want my writing to be forced, and not that I'm such a great writer. I don't feel comfortable writing with a bunch of people.
Right.
I tried that in Nashville and it never felt good. But I told Billy, I said, Billy, I'd love to write a song with you. And he goes, you don't need me to write a song. You write songs fine. I go, I know, I don't need you to write a song. I want to. He said, all right. But we never could make it happen.
Never could. Yeah, I hated. I never got to see Billy Joe live.
Oh,
And
really?
That's a big regret for me. I wish I would have.
There's nothing like him live. The Billy. There's maybe an argument that he wasn't a great singer, but I would argue that nobody interpreted his songs better than Billy.
Right.
Because you got the feel of what it was. Of course, obviously, people are going to say, well, Waylon did all this, but of course, Waylon's a singer's singer. And Waylon can interpret other people's music like nobody else. But I'm just saying you get a different vibe when you hear Billy Joe sing it and him do it live because you're talking to the man that lived it.
Right. I think that's true with any songwriter, or most any songwriter. Like listening to, I think Towns Van Zant's a good example of that.
That's a good example of that. But I will go devil's advocate on that. I've heard a guy, I'm not going to mention his name, sing a huge. It was a huge hit for one of my favorite singers, and and he wrote the song, and I'm thinking, Jesus, this guy can't sing "Come to Jesus," and he just doesn't. He just does. I'm one to throw dirt, but yeah, but I almost didn't recognize the song.
Really?
Yeah, and the guy wrote it, and I'm thinking, I'm so glad that this other guy recorded it because I never would have recognized the song if it wouldn't been for the guy who had the hit on it.
Yeah. A lot of guys though, like Towns, Guy Clark, which I always thought Guy Clark had a really good voice.
Absolutely, no.
But Towns sometimes sounded pretty rough, especially whenever it was a live recording and he was, on drugs or whatever it was. But still, he invoked that emotion. Like
Yeah,
Marie, that song about the homeless couple. It's like,
yeah. Well, again, there's these artists. Towns is one of them guys. I think I'll put him in the same boat as Billy Joe in the way that when you hear songs that he wrote, that he's singing, it's got a different vibe to it. Like I said, even Pancho and Lefty, which was done perfectly by Merle and Willie, but to hear him do it, it's got
right.
it's got more of a, I don't know, it's just got a goosebump vibe.
Almost haunting is
Yeah,
how
yeah,
his is.
yeah.
So, not only writing, but performing, singing, everything, who would you say is the biggest influences on your career?
Well, my dad is because he was a singer-songwriter and picker and, started this whole thing. But right after that would have to be Merle Haggard. Merle, I've learned from, because, and it has, the reason I say that without question is because obviously his singing is fantastic and his songwriting is just, it's just always right on the money. I mean, he says what he says, and I just love his writing. But when I listened to the catalog of Merle Haggard, uh, he was the guy. Even though I'm right here, Pasadena, Texas, he was the guy that turned me on to Bob Wills.
Mm.
Now I'd heard Sleep at the Wheel. I heard them on Austin City Limits, and I loved them. So, uh, but that was such a big band. I thought, well, that's out of my reach. It's such a big band. A lot of I only had a four-piece band. And then Merle comes along with that album. Matter of fact, I got that 8-track over there. I had Merle sign it. To the best tribute to the best fiddle player in the world, best damn fiddle player in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that 8-track I've had for 50, well, since a long time. So I happened to be doing a show, and I went up to we was touring in a Suburban with Longhorns on it. We call it Longhorn Suburban. Had an 8-track player in it, and I had that 8-track in there, and it broke. The tape had broke, but I still couldn't throw it away. So I asked him to sign it, and he signed it. And that got me on to a deeper dive into Bob Wills. Again, I've been doing San Antonio Rose and Beta Love and all this stuff, But when Merle came out with that Bob Wills album, that took me down a rabbit hole. And of course, I go to Bob Wills and went down that rabbit hole.
Right.
Went up to Brownie, Milton Brownie, Emmett, So that's what I love about the roots. Once you touch it, you start going down and getting more into the roots, And so Merle's got to be right on up there. Of course, Johnny Cash taught me dark songs with being able to tap your toes to a dark song,
Mm-hmm.
Because you think about some of the songs that were his hits, they're pretty. It's not like happy stuff.
Morbid.
Yeah, but here you are tapping your toe to give my love to Rose or Folsom Prison. I'm in this, so.
What about Johnny Paycheck?
Paycheck, man, has always been well, the thing about there's people that were still having hits on the radio that were big influences to me. Merle was still having hits. Johnny was still having it. George Jones, Gary Stewart, as we talked about earlier, and Paycheck. They were all these guys were still having hits on the radio with me growing up, and I loved it. I was able to. So they were people that had direct influence on me. And then when it started getting poppy from 1978 was when it happened. That was the year that country started turning to shit. With the influx of L.A. Well, when I say L.A., I mean what I mean is the old rock and rollers jumped over to country because they got run out with techno. So bands like Exile and all these other bands that were had rock pop records. Now they went to country. So then it just got really watered down.
Right.
As Willie would say. So the Paycheck was definitely a big influence on me.
The reason I say Paycheck is because anytime I listen to an artist, I don't know why, but I always think this guy's like a mixture of this person and this person.
Sure, yeah.
And when I hear your voice, I'm like, Dale is a mixture of Merle Haggard and I hear Johnny Paycheck in your voice when you sing. I don't know why it is.
You know who said that? Billy Sherrill told me that. I was actually in Nashville in the early '80s, and I used to actually dress. There's probably a picture here somewhere of me and my first album. Where I wore the black coat with a skinny tie, or maybe even the cowboy '60s cowboy tie. But and Billy told me a whole bunch of stories about Donnie Young, who was Paycheck. But that whole Little Darling era of Johnny Paycheck is a huge influence, and that's probably my favorite recordings of Johnny Paycheck. Most people think of Take This Job and Shove It, which is great, and Don't Take This All I Got, which is great. but that '60s Little Darling era of Johnny Paycheck is, oh man, his voice has never been better and just amazing.
There's a video of him on YouTube. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but he's on his tour bus, and his pupils are about the size of nickels. But he plays an acoustic version of Sharon
Must have
Ray.
been really dark.
Yeah,
Dark in there.
yeah. He played a acoustic version of Sharon Ray, and I think that's the prettiest I've ever heard him sing or play.
Well, I did a show with him in Holland, and in the early '90s, I guess, and maybe it was middle '90s, but yeah, it was mid '90s, and he's playing electric guitar, a telly, and singing old violin, and man, just goosebumps, and to this day, that's probably well, it just is in my mind so much, him singing that song, and of course he had to go back and do the oxygen for a bit and then come back, but he still sang amazing. His voice is never stronger, but him singing that song just made you want to cry, man.
Yeah,
I mean, because it just pours your heart, and just, man, this guy's his guitar playing when he was doing that, all the whole set that he did. He's a musician's musician. You know, he played bass, played steel.
right.
You know, Ray Price. Come on.
Yeah, he was one of my favorites growing up. I remember when I was like 3 years old. It was my birthday, I think, and I asked my mom for a Sony Walkman and a Johnny Paycheck cassette.
Wow.
And she got it for me, and I wore that thing out. And he died. When he died, I was only probably 8 or 10 years old. But I remember my dad come and told me, and I cried like he was a grandfather.
Sure. Yeah, man. I mean, these people, they make a big impression in our lives, man. So
yeah, for sure.
that's a great story because yeah, a lot of when he died, it felt like a big part of country music died, and that's what's kind of sad right now because when these people pass, there's just a little blurb. I remember when Conway died. Conway, I've always loved Conway Twitty, and when he passed, there's barely anything about it, you know.
Yeah,
Usually, you know when a major singer passes because you start hearing their music on the radio, you know, stuff like that. But again, I wasn't listening to mainstream radio anymore, but they still weren't playing,
right.
you know, because if they played a Conway song or let's take it right now, even when Charlie Pride died, Charlie Pride, who Master Award, we gave him the Golden Award, and he was so accepting and said he loved what we were doing about the keeping the roots in country music. And when he passed, there was nothing.
Right.
And this guy broke down racial barriers.
Oh yeah.
You know, this guy was so important. He is so important, even right now. You know, I was just talking when I did the Grand Ole Opry, and it was Charlie Pride's portion of the show. You know, you each got a host on these different parts of the Grand Ole Opry, and it happened to be Charlie Pride's this year that I was on this particular year, and was in the wings waiting, and Charlie says to me, he says, you know, thanks for being on the show. They're finally doing that movie. He just out of the blue, he just says this. I said, movie? What movie? He says, the movie about me. He says, wow, well, that's great. That's long overdue. He said, yeah, so they got this guy, I don't know who it is. It's some sort of rock guy. I said, they got a rock and roll guy? He says, no, that's his name, Rock. I go, Dwayne Johnson? He says, yeah, he's going to play me. I thought about it. I thought, man, I think big guy. Says, but the more I investigated, I got to know about Dwayne Johnson. You know, put loose clothes on him, and he could totally pull it off.
Yeah.
And Dwayne Johnson is a big fan of what we're doing. You know, I'm proud to say he likes some of my music, and as a matter of fact, Terramana Tequila, his tequila, is sponsoring some Ameripolitan events. You know,
Oh, okay.
the big award show, and I asked him about it. Said, "Hey, said whatever happened to that? That was so many years ago." Charlie was so excited about it. He said, "Yeah, just we were. I was so excited about doing that. I was really happy we got going to do the movie, and then somewhere along the way, legalities, something popped up and they couldn't do it. But that is a story that needs to be done, you know. And when he passed, it was like you heard nothing, crickets,
Yeah.
and that's what's sad. I remember my dad telling me and my brothers, who were musicians, except the one you met here. He was smart. He didn't go into music, uh, but uh, but he told us, it says, in country music, if you play country music, you'll never be forgotten. You know, you're not going to be a one-hit wonder. You know, if you've had a hit or you're any kind of success, you got fans. Your fans are for life. So in pop music, that's not the way it is. You know, they boom and you're gone, up and gone. Now that's changed. You know, but back then it was true. It was true. If you had uh, your fans really stuck with you for life, and I think that's what Ameripolitan does. You know, Ameripolitan fans, uh, when they find somebody they like, they buy all the albums and they support as many shows as they can.
Yeah, I seen that. I've been posting the past couple of days that I was going to be coming up here and doing this podcast with you, and uh, said if any fans have some questions that y'all want me to ask Dale, let me know. And the messages started coming in. I'm like, wow, Dale.
Well, let's go for it. You know, a guy who passed that is well, proves that point. James Hand. Again, Charlie Crockett did a whole album of James
Yep.
music. We're going to do a showcase that features James Hand music. He's got a charity set up for helping music. You know, James Ham is very important. He's now, is he known mainstream wise? No, but he should be. Even now, even though he's passed, his music is great, and in the Ameripolitan community, he's very missed. This will be the first award show that he's not opened up, because we've always loved him just coming up and opening the show. But you had questions from fans. You want to do that?
Well, you're also doing a tribute to Charlie Robison.
Yeah, Charlie
So,
is well. This is a very Texas show because we're bringing it back from Texas from Memphis, Tennessee, for its 10th, and it's uh, we're trying to have the show very reflective of Texas. That's why we've got Ray Benson,
mhm.
Augie Myers, and Flacco Menace, and got Gary P. Nunn's going to sing. That Home with Armadillo was, that was how many people have got that in their heads when we watch Austin City Limits. It's the first thing you
Right.
heard for so many years. And so, yeah, Charlie just passed, and Charlie dug what we were doing with the Ameripolitan. And so it's Austin community is very, it's, especially back when Charlie was starting out, that still had the vibe of what Willie made it.
Yeah.
Willie made this like, the rednecks get along with the hippies and all that kind of thing. Charlie was very Towns influenced,
Hmm.
and John Prine, and so, but he also loved the Haggard and Jones, and so we just wanted to give a nod to somebody who passed, left us with a little hole
Yeah.
in our community.
Yeah, that'll be great. Well, yeah, I have a few things that was sent in that I picked from. I had a whole lot of them. We'd be here all day if
All
if I'd have
right.
brought all of them. But
All right.
Stephen, this one's not really a question, but he wanted to say that he admired you for doing your own thing and staying true to honky tonk music.
Well, thank you, Stephen. It wasn't always like that. I thought when I was first starting out, and uh, I wanted to use my own band on my records. And I wanted, some things I learned uh, I should have maybe listened to the record company and did this and did that. Uh, but when it came to the songs, that's where I kind of drew the line, because I mean they wanted me to do some songs, and I actually even recorded some of them, and it just made a pit in my stomach. I'm thinking, man, I I hope they don't put this out and this is a hit because this is horrible. You know, it was a poppy stuff and luckily it's never came out. But uh, yeah, it makes you when you compromise yourself, it makes you unhappy. So I just went with what made me happy.
Yeah,
And
and it's been very successful for you thus far.
I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining. You know, I mean, I'm not like again, I'm not a big star or nothing, but I'm happy. I'm very happy doing because I'm making a living doing what I love. You know, you
I'd
do that.
say I have to disagree with you there. I'd say in Texas you are a big star. I mean,
It's kind of
everybody knows Dale Watson in Texas.
well, you live long enough and get old enough. You know, I'm like an old penny. You know, I'll show up somewhere
You were actually born though in
in Birmingham, Alabama.
Alabama.
Yep.
So yeah, because the reason I say everybody knows Dale Watson in Texas, I made a Texas country musicians from Texas video, and I went strictly by where they were born. So
Okay.
I'd
Yeah.
left you out of the Texas one, and the messages started coming. You
Oh yeah.
left Dale out. You left Dale.
Uh, what did you leave Ray out? Ray
No.
Benson?
Oh, I might have. I don't remember. It's been a while since I made the video, but
Yeah.
I had went and double checked everybody's. I tried to. I messed up on a couple, but
Yeah, that's all right.
it
But no,
happens.
but that's you know that is a pretty impressive list when you if you I mean come on Waylon Jennings, Roy Orbison, Willie Nelson,
Chris
George
Christopherson.
Jones, Chris Christopherson. Uh, there's there, this is Texas is pretty important when it comes to music.
Yeah, another one that I had to leave out was Jerry Jeff Walker,
Yeah,
born in New
New
York.
York. Yeah.
So I got a lot of messages between you and Jerry Jeff. I had a lot of angry Texans.
Don't be. Hey, we got here as quick as we could.
All right, Adam said, "Where did you get the inspiration for your trucking songs?"
I was doing a tour. Adam, thank you for asking. I was doing a tour back then. I just recorded. No, I did a tour of. It was. What's the name of that trucking? It was a radio show called. Is that in Nashville? Anyway, they'd put together a tour of truck stops, and it was we tagged along with a semi trailer, a Western Star trailer. They were going to give away at the end of this thing, and it was also a fundraiser for abused and missing children, you know, to help that with that charity. And so we just followed this semi and did all these trucker appreciation days all over the country. And in that time, you know, I had a CB. I always had a CB radio, but we was really getting into the culture. The truck drivers that were doing the truck,
Mhm.
you know, we're pretty much doing the same thing. You know, we're eating the same places, and the only thing different, we were the cargo and stuff. And
Right.
so we were getting into that, and hearing all these stories, and so that's where it started. And I wrote all these songs off the first trucking album on that tour, and then immediately went in the studio and recorded it. And so then that just started a snowball because, you know, the record company I was with at the time, they didn't want to put the record out,
Mhm.
and they said, no, trucking albums they don't sell anymore. I said, it's not about selling. It's about, I said, just, I want to record all these trucking songs. They're new songs,
Mhm.
brand new songs about new stuff, about new situations. And they said no. So as soon as I was done with the tour, I booked a session. We did it, recorded it in 10 hours. And then another record company picked it up, and it's been the longest evergreen record I've ever done. It's just always sold well, and I've done two more trucking albums after that.
Yeah, I think that first record label was wrong because I had a lot of people messaging me the past couple of days that wanting me to ask you about them trucking songs.
Yeah. I mean, that's the trucking songs. They resonate with people. You know, even just driving down the road. You don't have to be a trucker. It just, I mean, there's songs on there about, you know, gotta get home to my baby, and you know, just stuff like that. You know, and help me Joe about a cup of coffee. You know, just getting further down the road.
Right.
Just things like that. You know, that are are universal. You don't have to be a truck driver to feel that way.
Yeah. Tony says, and I had a lot of questions like this from several different places over
Oh, wait a
there.
minute. Let me go back. David Buckskemper. That's the newest, one of the new trucking songs I wrote. Real guy. I write like writing about real people.
Uh-huh.
David Buckskemper. He's a trucking farmer or he's a farming trucker. Look it up. You'll probably hear from David Buckskemper on your feed. He's a real guy in Llano Estacado.
Okay.
So go ahead. Sorry.
I had a lot of questions like this from people across the pond, but I picked Tony. He just asked when you were coming back to London, and it was a bunch of people from Europe.
Yeah, we. I usually go over there once a year. Obviously, the since well, actually, I think I've been back since 2020, haven't I? I don't know, but yeah, I have. So I'll be back over there in 2024. I'm pretty sure. Now, what's funny is it's kind of easier to go to Europe than it is to go to I know the UK. Let's put it that way. And I don't know why, but so I don't know when we're going to get back to London, but I do know we're going to be coming over to Europe in 2024.
It's crazy how big of a culture for traditional country music and old time country music there is over in those places. Like I know Ireland's a big one, England, Australia. I get people messaging me all the time. They love Charlie Pride in
Oh yeah,
Ireland for
oh
sure,
yeah,
and Buck Owens, people like that. They're all the time. My Irish followers and English followers sending me pictures from when Charlie come to town and stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah. It's I mean if it wasn't for actually the UK, what gave me my first the first album I did, but it was big over there.
Yeah.
It made the charts over there, so that they really started me out as far as having any kind of success.
Buster asked. He has a two-part question. His first question was, "What's your funniest story from the road?"
Oh man, that's put me on the spot. Uh, well, I don't know if it's funny, uh, uh, 109. That's off the trucking album.
Hmm.
Uh, Came from a real experience driving from Vegas back to Texas, and it was probably about 3 in the morning. And here on the CB radio, breaking 19. Anybody looking for a date? A woman, So like, of course, all these truckers chimed in, and you could barely hear what was going on. All the people talking at the same time, and so she said, "Yeah, just exit 129." And now, even when I'm saying this on the microphone, it's 29. It's 29. It's harsh. So, but all the and I looked and I was right at exit 127 or something like that, and I thought, well, uh, she says where says just come on, park next to the Winnebago with a pink stripe, a white Winnebago with a pink stripe, and so I thought, well, all these guys, and of course we're moving along, had to get on, and I thought to myself, I want to look at that Winnebago. I want to take, cell phones weren't a thing then. You couldn't take pictures, and you actually had cameras. But so that whole time, I'm thinking, man, I wish I would have stopped and just looked, and seen what that whole scene looked like. I just picture all these trucks outside this Winnebago like a dog in heat, and but it was a rolling cat house. It was a rolling cat house, and so when I ended up writing the song later, I had to change it to 109 because 129 sounds harsh and
Hmm.
it's not easy to sing. But that'd probably be the funniest thing on the road for me.
You answered two questions there because somebody had messaged me and asked what the story was behind that
Oh
song.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But the next question, I picked this one instead because a lot of people were asking the story behind "I Lie When I Drink."
I wrote that on stage at the Continental Club. I lie when I drink. It's I write a lot of songs that way. I just Texas Boogie was written that way. Tequila y Lágrimas. Tequila and Teardrops. And more recently, I just wrote a song called Willie Waylon and Whiskey that was on stage. But I have more fun writing that way just because if it works, it works. I can tell right away if it's going to be something that I want to keep doing. And I go back later and sometimes I put my phone down and record it. And then I go back later and try to hear what I said and clean it up. But that was what happened on Lie When I Drink. It was at Continental Club, and I was thinking about Lone Star beer, the best beer in the world, by the way, Lone Star. and the guy said, "Yeah, but you lie when you drink." I said, So I just kicked off that song there, and it kind of stuck. I knew it was going to be one that stuck around because by the second time I was singing the chorus, people were singing it with me.
Right. Yeah, Willie, you just talked about your newer song, Willie Waylon and Whiskey, which is a fantastic song, by the way. Super catchy. It's so catchy that it cost me $25 at your concert. My wife saw that shirt and said, I gotta have that shirt.
That's the first song we've ever done that's had a T-shirt first before I haven't recorded it yet. And I haven't recorded the song yet, and but that's why this guy would tell the story. This guy in front of me in San Antonio was wearing a shirt that said Willie Waylon and Whiskey, and so he's right in front of me. It's a small stage, and I asked him. I said, "Hey, what's that shirt? Is that a band or is it a song? What is it?" He said, "No, it's just a shirt." And I seen the shirt that said Willie Waylon and Whiskey. I like all that, so I bought it. So all right. So I kept staring at that. I said, "You know what? That's got to be a song." So I broke into the song, and so I decided we could do a shirt with it and put the lyrics on the back. So I copyrighted it with a shirt.
It's a cool shirt.
Well, thanks for getting it.
And my wife will be representing you.
Well, tell her thank you. What's her name?
Earth.
Thank you, Earth. Appreciate it.
Well, that's all the fan questions I have, but want to say again, thank you for letting me come out here and come to your place. You got just such a beautiful place out here. We're actually in your barn right now, which you're converting into a honky-tonk kind of.
Well, listening room. It's going to be a listening room. It's inspired by a couple of different listening rooms I played, like in Baton Rouge. There's a place called the Red Dragon. It's a great venue, and where people just come and listen to music, and also in Missouri, there's one called the Coda House. It's a great place. But what I figured is I'd have people coming on the way right off of 20, coming either from Dallas or from the West Coast or other way from the East Coast, going to the West Coast. And then they stop in here and we give them a little crowd and give them enough money to get down the road, And so it's going to be called In the Pines because, like it or not, you went behind the pine curtain to get here.
Yeah.
That's what we call it. We live behind the pine curtain, and this is like I said, the Lead Belly area, mm-hmm. and so we're gonna, that song he wrote, "My Girl, My Girl,"
mm-hmm.
and so we're gonna make this a listening room, and hopefully you'll see some podcasts out of this because I plan on doing Ameripolitan shows to let people know, people hear what they're doing, get them down the road.
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting. I didn't know you were.
And also Chicken Shit Bingo. I'm going to do that on the internet here.
I didn't know you were naming it In the Pines. That's very fitting because, like you said, we are in the pines.
Behind the pine curtain.
And then Lead Belly had In the Pines, which was cut by. Me and Celine was in there talking about how influential Lead Belly was.
Sure.
In the Pines, Midnight Special,
Black Beauty,
Good Night Irene, all these songs.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. Y'all have that
Stripes.
festival.
I got Stripes. I didn't. That's the one that surprised me. I didn't realize Lead Belly did that before Johnny Cash.
Really, I didn't know that either.
Yeah. You listen to Lead Belly's version, like man, that's because on all the records it said Johnny Cash wrote it.
Yeah.
But he did not.
Well, like we said, coming up in February, the Ameripolitan Music Awards coming up. That's the weekend of February the 18th, with the awards being on the 18th, right?
Yeah, it culminates. It's actually February 16, 17, 18. You want to catch all the stuff on the weekend.
Yep, we'll be out there. All these great artists. So y'all make sure get y'all some tickets and come out if you're able to in the area.
Ameripolitan.org.
And that's just going to be a lot of fun. And I want to say again, thank y'all for inviting me to come out and enjoy it. It's going to be a heck of a time.
It is going to be. Get your tickets early, and again, we got shuttles to take everybody out to the showcases. So it's going to be a fun, safe weekend.
Yep. Well, I appreciate you, Dale. And I know you said you had to get to Austin, Texas, so I ain't going to keep you too long. Yeah. It's a hike from here.
That is a hike. But thank you for making the trip all the way up. You know, that's not a short drive.
Yeah, yep. We'll have to get it scheduled and do it again maybe later in the year or next year, catch back up and talk about the next Ameripolitan Awards.
There you go. Do that. We come when I'm doing one of these chicken chip bingos here. I'm going out and be a guest on that.
Yeah, I've heard about it, but I've never participated. So it sounds really interesting.
Oh yeah. Well, when the stage gets up and everything, and we're, like I said, we're right. You see us in the middle of all this, but yeah, we're going to do a regular chicken shit bingo, and even Europeans can play.
It's going to be fun. I'm going to make a video while I'm out there of that.
Okay. Yeah.
So everybody who doesn't know what we're talking about, y'all are going to be able to see this. So stay tuned for that.
We got the chickens right there.
Well, Dale, thank you. I'm going to let you get out of here, and I'm going to get back on the road, and
Thanks.
We'll see you come February.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Thanks for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.